I am 26 years old and a woman. My sister, Amelia, who is 28, was getting married. On her wedding day, she said something I will never forget. She leaned close to the photographer. She thought no one else could hear her. She whispered, "Spill wine on my sister." I was that sister. I heard every single word she said. The photographer did not spill wine on me. Instead, he revealed who he really was. And that changed everything for my sister. Our family was never what you would call normal. On the surface, we looked perfect. We had a nice house in a good neighborhood. My father had a stable job that paid well. My mother was a homemaker who was very involved in the community. People looked at us and saw a happy, successful family. They did not see what happened behind our closed doors. They did not see the way my mother treated me and my sister so differently. Amelia was the golden child. She could do no wrong in my mother's eyes. Everything Amelia did was amazing. Everything she said was brilliant. If Amelia got a good grade, my mother would tell everyone we knew. If Amelia won a small award at school, it was framed and put on the wall. My achievements were usually ignored. If I got a good grade, my mother would say, "That's nice, dear." If I won an award, she would nod and put it in a drawer. It was like this for our entire lives. Amelia was praised and I was tolerated. She was the sun and I was a distant star, barely visible in her bright light. I learned to live with it. I learned to be quiet. I learned not to expect praise. I focused on my own life and my own goals. I did not try to compete with Amelia. I knew it was a competition I could never win. My mother had already chosen the winner a long time ago. When Amelia got engaged to Mark, my mother was overjoyed. Mark came from a very wealthy family. They were not just rich, they were old money. They had a name that meant something in our city. My mother saw this marriage as a huge victory. It was her ticket into a social circle she had only ever dreamed of. She started planning the wedding immediately. It had to be the biggest and best wedding anyone had ever seen. The wedding planning was a nightmare for me. My mother and Amelia made every decision together. I was the maid of honor, but I felt like a servant. They would send me on errands all over. I tried not to let it bother me. I told myself it was just for a few months. Once the wedding was over, things would go back to normal. The dress was a major point of conflict. As maid of honor, I was supposed to wear a dress that Amelia picked out. She chose a horrible color. It was a sickly yellow that made me look pale and unwell. I tried to protest gently. "Amelia, I'm not sure this color suits me," I said. "Could we maybe look at a different shade?" She looked at me with fake surprise. "Oh, do you not like it? I think it looks lovely on you. It is so unique." My mother chimed in. "Do not be difficult, Sarah. It is Amelia's day. You will wear what she wants you to wear." I wanted to cry. I felt so ugly in that dress. But I knew there was no point in arguing. I would just have to endure it for one day. I bought the dress and said nothing more about it. I did not want to cause any more trouble. I just wanted the wedding to be over. I thought that was the worst of it. I was wrong. The worst was yet to come, and it would happen on the wedding day itself. The day of the wedding was chaotic. My mother was running around, barking orders at everyone. Amelia was in her bridal suite, getting her hair and makeup done. She acted like a queen on her throne. She had 3 people working on her at once. I was in a small, cramped room down the hall, trying to do my own makeup. No one had offered to help me. No one seemed to remember I was even there. I finally finished getting ready. I put on the awful yellow dress. I looked at myself in the mirror and sighed. I did not feel beautiful. I felt like a joke. But I took a deep breath and forced a smile onto my face. Today was not about me. It was about Amelia. I had to be supportive. I had to pretend to be happy for her, even if she was making me miserable. I walked down the hall to the bridal suite. The door was slightly open. I could hear Amelia talking to someone inside. I paused, not wanting to interrupt. I heard her say my name. I leaned a little closer, curious about what she was saying. That is when I heard the words that made my blood run cold. "I have a special job for you," Amelia said to the photographer. Her voice was low and conspiratorial. "You an extra $500 if you do it." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. I stumbled back from the door, my hand covering my mouth. Tears welled up in my eyes. It was not a joke. She was serious. She was planning to humiliate me in front of everyone we knew. She was going to pay someone to do it. All the years of being second best, of being ignored and belittled, came rushing back to me. All the times I had made excuses for her behavior. All the times I had told myself she did not mean to be cruel. I was wrong. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was mean. She was hateful. And she was my sister. I wanted to burst into the room and scream at her. I wanted to tell her what a horrible person she was, but I knew it would do no good. She would just deny it. My mother would take her side. They would both turn on me and call me a liar. They would say I was just trying to ruin her big day because I was jealous. I would be the villain, and she would be the victim. I could not let that happen. I had to be smart about this. I wiped my tears away and took a few deep breaths. I needed to calm down. I needed to think. I could not let her get away with this. Not this time. This time, she had gone too far. I decided right then and there that I was not going to be her victim anymore. I was going to fight back. I just needed to figure out how. I walked away from the bridal suite, my mind racing. I needed to find the photographer. I needed to talk to him. I did not know what I was going to say. I just knew I had to do something. I found him a few minutes later, setting up his equipment in the main hall where the ceremony would take place. He was young, probably around my age. He had kind eyes. He did not look like the kind of person who would deliberately ruin someone's day for money. I approached him cautiously. "Hello," I said. "I am Sarah, the maid of honor." He smiled at me. "Hi, Sarah. I am Ben. It is nice to meet you." "You too," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just wanted to say that the lighting in here is really beautiful. You must be excited to shoot here." I was trying to sound casual, to start a normal conversation. I needed to see how he would react to me. "Yes."
Sorry, he said. I was never going to do it. I was just trying to. I do not know what I was doing. I was shocked that she would even ask me to do something like that. I felt a small wave of relief wash over me. He was not going to do it. "Why did you not just say no to her?" I asked. "I did not want to cause a scene," he explained. "She is the bride. I did not want her to get angry and fire me. This is a big job for me, but I promise you, I would never intentionally ruin your dress. That is a horrible thing to do." I believed him. There was sincerity in his voice. "Thank you," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I appreciate that." "But what are you going to do?" he asked. "She is still expecting it to happen. She is going to be angry when it does not." "I know," I said. "I am trying to figure that out. I cannot confront her about it. She will just deny it and my mother will back her up. They will make me out to be the bad guy." Ben nodded in understanding. "That is a tough situation." He paused for a moment, thinking. "What if we turned the tables on her?" he suggested. I looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" "What if we make her think the plan is still on?" he said. "And then, at the right moment, we expose what she tried to do." A slow smile spread across my face. I liked the sound of that. "Tell me more," I said. So, Ben and I came up with a plan. It was risky. It could blow up in my face, but it was better than doing nothing. It was better than letting Amelia humiliate me and get away with it. For the first time all day, I felt a spark of hope. I was not alone in this. I had an ally. And together, we were going to give my sister a wedding day she would never, ever forget. The plan was simple. Ben would act like he was going along with Amelia's scheme. He would approach me during the reception, a glass of red wine in his hand. He would pretend to stumble, to trip over something. But instead of spilling the wine on me, he would spill it on Amelia. It would be poetic justice. She would be the one with the big red stain on her pristine white dress. We knew we had to be careful. My mother would be watching. Amelia's new in-laws would be watching. Everyone would be watching. We had to make it look like a reception hall. It was decorated lavishly. There were flowers everywhere. A live band was playing soft music. Waiters were walking around with trays of champagne and appetizers. My mother was in her element, greeting guests and basking in the glow of her daughter's perfect wedding. I tried to stay close to Ben, but it was difficult. People kept coming up to me to congratulate me on my sister's marriage. I had to smile and thank them, all the while thinking about what was about to happen. I felt like I was in a movie playing a part, the dutiful sister, the loving maid of honor. No one knew the truth. I saw Amelia across the room. She was holding court surrounded by a group of her friends. She was laughing and telling a story, her hands gesturing wildly. She looked so happy, so carefree. She had no idea that her perfect day was about to be ruined, and she had no one to blame but herself. I finally managed to get a moment alone with Ben near the bar. "Are you ready?" I asked him, my voice trembling slightly. "As I will ever be," he said. He picked up a glass of red wine from the bar. "The stage is set. We just need to wait for the right moment." "When is the right moment?" I asked. "The speeches," he said. "Everyone will be paying attention. It will have the most impact then." My stomach did a flip. The speeches were scheduled to start in about 20 minutes. That did not give us much time. "Okay," I said. "The speeches it is." We went over the plan one last time. Ben would wait until my father finished his speech. Then, as the best man was about to start his, Ben would make his move. He would walk towards the head table, where I was sitting next to Amelia. He would pretend to trip on a loose cord from the band's equipment. The wine would go flying. Hopefully, it would land right on Amelia. The minutes ticked by slowly. I felt like I was going to be sick. What if it went wrong? What if he missed? What if he spilled the wine on me by accident? So many things could go wrong. I had to push those thoughts out of my mind. I had to believe in our plan. I had to believe in Ben. Finally, it was time for the speeches. My father went first. He gave a long, rambling speech about how proud he was of Amelia. The cord, just as we had planned. He let out a loud yell. The glass of red wine flew out of his hand. It sailed through the air in slow motion. I held my breath. It was a perfect shot. The dark red liquid splashed all over the front of Amelia's white wedding dress. It was a huge, ugly stain, right in the center of her bodice. It looked like she was bleeding. There was a collective gasp from the guests. The best man stopped his speech mid-sentence. Everyone was staring at Amelia. Her mouth was hanging open in shock. She looked down at her dress, and then her face crumpled. She let out a horrified scream. "My dress!" she shrieked. "My dress is ruined!" Ben was on the floor, pretending to be hurt. "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry," he cried. "I tripped. I am so sorry." My mother rushed to Amelia's side. "Oh, my baby," she wailed. "Your beautiful dress." She started dabbing at the stain with a napkin, but it only made it worse. The red color was spreading. Amelia was hysterical. She was sobbing and screaming. "This is a disaster! My wedding is ruined!" Mark, the groom, looked stunned. He did not seem to know what to do. His parents, who were sitting at a nearby table, looked horrified. This was not the elegant, sophisticated wedding they had been promised. I sat there, watching the chaos unfold. I should have felt guilty. I should have felt bad for my sister, but I did not. I felt a sense of satisfaction. She was getting exactly what she deserved. She had wanted to humiliate me, to ruin my day. Now, she was the one being humiliated. Her perfect day was in shambles. After a few minutes of chaos, my mother managed to calm Amelia down enough to get her off the stage. They rushed to the bridal suite, presumably to try and clean the dress, but I knew it was hopeless. A red wine stain on a white silk dress is impossible to get out. The reception was effectively over. The band stopped playing. The guests started whispering amongst themselves. The festive atmosphere was gone, replaced by a sense of awkwardness and embarrassment. Mark's parents came over to our table. They looked at my father with expressions of deep disappointment. "This has been a most unfortunate evening," Mark's father said, his voice cold. Guests leave. The beautiful reception hall now looked sad and empty. "What do you think will happen now?" I asked. "I do not know," Ben said, "but I have a feeling this is not over." He was right. It was far from over. What I did not know at the time was that Ben was not just a wedding photographer. He was someone much more important, and his true identity was about to be revealed
causing an even bigger explosion in my family. The wine spill was just the beginning. The real drama was about to start. After the reception disaster, I went back to my hotel room. I did not want to face my family. I knew my mother and Amelia would be furious with me, even though they had no proof that I was involved. They would blame me anyway. They always did. I was sitting on my bed, replaying the events of the evening in my mind, when my phone rang. It was Ben. "Hey," he said. "Can we talk?" "Sure," I said. "What is up?" "I need to tell you something," he said. "Something I should have told you earlier. I am not just a photographer." I was confused. "What do you mean?" "My full name is Benjamin Sterling," he said. The name sounded familiar, but I could not place it. "Okay," I said slowly. "Mark's mother. Her maiden name was Sterling," he explained. "She is my aunt. Mark is my cousin." I gasped. The photographer was the groom's cousin. Amelia had no idea. She had tried to bribe a member of her new husband's family to humiliate me. This was so much worse than I could have imagined. "Why did you not tell me?" I asked. "I did not want to make things more complicated," he said. "And honestly, I was curious. I took this job as a favor to my aunt. She wanted me to capture the real moments of the day, not just the posed shots. I guess I got more than I bargained for." "You certainly did," I said, my mind reeling. "Does Mark know?" "He knows now," Ben said. "I told him everything. He is not happy." "I can imagine," I said. "What about your aunt and uncle?" "They know too," he said. "They are appalled. They value family and integrity above all else. What Amelia did is unforgivable in their eyes." I did not know what to say. This was huge. This was not just about a ruined dress anymore. This was about my sister's character. It was about smile. "You ready for this?" he asked. "No," I said honestly. "But let's do it anyway." We went up to the presidential suite. It was massive. Mark and his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, were sitting on a large sofa. They all looked very serious. My parents and Amelia were sitting on another sofa opposite them. My mother was glaring at me. Amelia was staring at the floor, her face pale. She was not wearing her wedding ring. We sat down and Mrs. Sterling began to speak. Her voice was calm but firm. "Thank you all for coming," she said. "I know this is difficult, but we need to discuss what happened last night." She looked at Amelia. "Amelia, my nephew Benjamin has told us a very disturbing story. He says that you offered him money to intentionally spill wine on your sister Sarah. Is this true?" Amelia did not say anything. She just continued to stare at the floor. "Look at me when I am speaking to you," Mrs. Sterling said sharply. Amelia slowly lifted her head. There were tears in her eyes. "It was a joke," she whispered. "A stupid joke. I never thought he would actually do it." "A joke?" Mrs. Sterling repeated, her voice laced with disbelief. "You offered him $500. That does not sound like a joke to me." "I was stressed," Amelia cried. "It was my wedding day. I was not thinking straight." My mother jumped to her defense. "She did not mean any harm," she said, her voice pleading. "She loves her sister. She was just overwhelmed." Mrs. Sterling turned her icy gaze on my mother. "Do you really believe that?" she asked. "Or are you just so used to making excuses for her behavior that you do not even see the truth anymore?" My mother shrank back, silenced. "Sarah," Mrs. Sterling said, turning to me. "What do you have to say about all this?" I took a deep breath. All eyes were on me. This was it, my moment to speak my truth. "It was not a joke," I said, my voice clear and steady. "Amelia has been treating me like this my whole life. She is always putting me down, making me feel small. She did it because she is jealous. She cannot stand it when I get any—" There was a long, heavy silence in the room. No one knew what to say. Finally, Mr. Sterling spoke. "Well," he said, his voice grave, "this changes things." He looked at his son, Mark. "This marriage cannot go forward. We cannot have someone with such a character in our family." Mark nodded in agreement. He looked at Amelia, his expression a mixture of anger and disgust. "He is right," he said. It is over. I want an annulment. Amelia let out a strangled sob. No, she cried. Mark, please. I love you. I can change. It is too late for that, Mark said coldly. You have shown me who you really are, and I do not want any part of it. My mother tried to intervene again. You cannot do this, she pleaded. Think of the scandal. What will people say? I do not care what people say, Mrs. Sterling said firmly. I care about my son's happiness, and he will not be happy with a woman who is so full of deceit and cruelty. The decision was final. The marriage was over before it had even really begun. Amelia's dream of marrying into the wealthy Sterling family was shattered. She had lost everything, and it was all because of her own actions. I left the hotel suite feeling a strange sense of emptiness. I had won. I had exposed my sister and my mother for who they really were. But it did not feel like a victory. I had lost my family. I felt completely alone. Ben walked with me. I am sorry it had to be this way, he said gently. It is not your fault, I said. It is theirs. We walked in silence for a while. Then he said, You are not alone, you know. You have me. I looked at him and managed a small smile. Thank you, Ben, I said. That means a lot. In the weeks that followed, my life changed completely. My parents did not speak to me. My mother had chosen her side, and it was not mine. My father was caught in the middle, but he was too weak to stand up to my mother. Amelia had moved back home, a shadow of her former self. She had lost her husband, her social standing, and her pride. I, on the other hand, was starting to heal. I had a new friend in Ben. We started spending a lot of time together. He was kind and funny, and I moved to a new city with Ben. We found a small apartment together. I got a job at a local art gallery. For the first time in my life, I was happy. I was free. I never saw my sister or my mother again. I heard from my father occasionally. He would call me on holidays and my birthday. He told me that Amelia never really recovered from the scandal. She became a bitter and lonely woman. My mother spent the rest of her life trying to make up for her daughter's misfortune, blaming everyone but Amelia herself. I never regretted my decision. The day of the wedding was the worst day of my life, but it was also the best. It was the day I finally stood up for myself. It was the day I broke free from my toxic family. And it was the day I met the man who would become my new family, my best friend, and the love of my life. Amelia wanted to ruin my day, but in the end, she only ruined her own life. And I found a happiness I never thought was possible. Sometimes, the worst things that happen to us can lead to the best things. My sister's cruelty was the catalyst for my freedom, and for that, in a strange way, I will always be grateful. Living with Ben was a revelation. Our apartment was not large, but it was filled with light and laughter. He treated me with a respect I had never known. When I had an opinion, he listened. When I had a success, he celebrated it with genuine joy. There were no hidden agendas, no subtle put-downs. It was just easy. I remember one of the first meals I cooked for us. It was a simple pasta dish, nothing fancy. I was nervous, my hands shaking slightly as I served it. In my old home, my cooking was always met with criticism from my mother or a backhanded compliment from Amelia. It's a bit salty, Sarah, my mother might say. Or Amelia would comment, It's good, for a beginner. I placed the plate in front of Ben, bracing myself for a similar reaction. He took a bite, and his eyes lit up. This is amazing, Sarah, he said. You're a fantastic cook. I was so taken aback that I just stood there, staring at him. Really? I asked. Of course, he said, taking another large bite. Why do you sound so surprised? I did not know how to explain that a simple, honest compliment felt like a foreign language.
Merritt's Ben's career was also taking off. His work for the magazine was getting a lot of attention. He traveled sometimes, but he always called me every night he was away. Our relationship grew stronger with each passing day. We were a team. We supported each other's dreams and celebrated each other's victories. About 2 years after we moved, my father called me. It was unusual for him to call on a random weekday. His voice sounded tired and strained. Hi, Sarah.
he said. Hi, Dad. Is everything okay? I asked, a familiar knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. It's your mother, he said. She's not well. The doctors, they say it's her heart. My own heart sank. Despite everything that had happened, she was still my mother. What's wrong with her heart? I asked. It's weak, he said. She needs surgery, a bypass. He paused, and I could hear him take a shaky breath. She's asking for you, Sarah. She wants to see you. I was torn. A part of me wanted to say no. A part of me wanted to tell him that she had lost the right to ask for me when she chose Amelia over me. But another part of me, the part that still remembered the good times from my childhood, before Amelia had become the center of her world, felt a pull. I told my father I would think about it. After I hung up, I told Ben what had happened. He listened patiently, holding my hand. What do you want to do? He asked when I was finished. I don't know, I confessed. I'm so angry at her. But she's my mom. What if this is my last chance to see her? You don't have to decide right now, he said gently. But whatever you decide, I'll support you. If you want to go, I'll go with you. You won't have to face them alone. His words were a comfort. Knowing he would be by my side made the thought of going back a little less daunting. I spent the next few days wrestling with my decision. I thought about all the hurt, all the neglect. But I also thought about what it would mean to live with the regret of not going if something happened to her. In the end, I decided to go. I needed to do it for myself, not for her. I needed to face my
Was hooked up to several machines that beeped softly. Amelia was sitting in a chair by the bed, reading a magazine. She looked up when we came in. Her face was a mask of cold indifference. She had gained some weight, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She did not look happy. My mother's eyes fluttered open. She saw me, and a flicker of something, maybe relief, crossed her face. Sarah, she said, her voice weak. You came. I'm here, Mom, I said, my voice softer than I expected. I walked over to the bed. Ben and my father stood by the door, giving us some space. Amelia did not move from her chair. She just watched us, her arms crossed over her chest. I'm sorry, Sarah, my mother whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. I'm so sorry for everything. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to tell her that a simple sorry could not erase a lifetime of hurt. But looking at her lying there, so fragile and weak, my anger seemed to melt away. It was replaced by a profound sense of sadness. Sadness for the relationship we never had. Sadness for the mother she could have been. I know, Mom, I said, my own eyes filling with tears. I took her hand. It felt cold and bony. We did not say much after that. We did not need to. In that moment, in that sterile hospital room, a silent understanding passed between us. It was not forgiveness, not completely, but it was a start. It was a letting go of the past. The next day, my mother had her surgery. It was a long and complicated procedure, but it was successful. The doctors said she would make a full recovery, but that she would need to make some significant lifestyle changes. I stayed for a week, helping my father take care of her when she came home from the hospital. Amelia was there, but she was more of a hindrance than a help. She complained about everything. She treated my father like a servant. She had not changed at all. One afternoon, Amelia and I were alone in the kitchen. She was scrolling through her phone, a bored expression on her face. I was making some tea for my mother. You know, this is all your fault, she said suddenly, not looking up from her phone. I stopped what I Behavior and the stress that caused everyone. Do not you dare try to put this on me. Amelia finally looked up from her phone, her eyes wide with shock. She was not used to me fighting back. I am done being your scapegoat, Amelia, I continued, my voice shaking with anger. You are a miserable person, and you want everyone around you to be as miserable as you are. Well, I am not. I am happy. I have a wonderful life, a wonderful partner, and a job I love. And you? You have nothing. You are living in our parents' house, a 30-year-old divorcee with no job and no prospects. So, you can blame me all you want, but we both know who is really responsible for the mess your life has become. It's you. I had never spoken to her like that before. The look on her face was a mixture of fury and disbelief. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. For the first time in her life, Amelia was speechless. I turned my back on her and finished making the tea. I took the cup to my mother's room. I did not look back. I knew that conversation was the final nail in the coffin of our sisterly relationship, and I was okay with that. Some relationships are not meant to be saved. Some are so toxic that the only healthy thing to do is walk away. Ben and I flew back home a few days later. As the plane took off, I looked out the window at the city below. I was leaving it behind for the second time, but this time, I felt no sadness. I felt no regret. I felt only peace. I had faced my past. I had said what I needed to say, and I was finally, truly free. Life continued, and it was good. Ben and I bought a house. We adopted a dog. We built a beautiful life together, filled with love, respect, and shared dreams. My career at the gallery flourished. Ben became a senior editor at the magazine. We were happy. A few years later, Ben proposed. It was not a grand public gesture. It was quiet and intimate, just the two of us in our home. He had made my favorite dinner. He had lit candles. He got down on one knee and told me that the day we met was the luckiest day of his life. He said that I had taught him what it means to truly love someone. Friends, to support each other through all of life's ups and downs. When we were pronounced husband and wife, our friends cheered. It was a perfect day. There was no jealousy, no cruelty, just love. On our first anniversary, Ben surprised me with a gift. It was a large, framed photograph. It was a picture of me from our wedding day. I was laughing, my head thrown back, my eyes sparkling with joy. I was wearing a simple, elegant white dress. There were no ugly yellow fabrics, no red wine stains. Just pure, unadulterated happiness. I wanted to capture the real you, Ben said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. The strong, beautiful, joyful woman I fell in love with. I leaned back against him, looking at the photograph. He had done it. He had captured the real me. The me that had been buried for so long under the weight of my family's dysfunction. The me that he had helped set free. I still think about that day at my sister's wedding sometimes. I think about the girl in the ugly yellow dress, her heart breaking as she overheard her sister's cruel plan. I feel a pang of sadness for her, for all the pain she had to endure. But I also feel a sense of pride. That girl found the strength to fight back. She found the courage to walk away from a toxic situation and build a new life for herself. She found love. She found happiness. She found herself. Amelia's attempt to ruin me was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the push I needed to break free. She wanted to be the only one shining, but her actions only served to illuminate her own darkness. In trying to extinguish my light, she inadvertently made it burn brighter than ever before. The truth did come into focus, and the picture it revealed was one I could finally be proud of. My life was my own masterpiece, and I was the one holding the camera. The years passed peacefully. Ben and I settled into a comfortable rhythm. Our love deepened, changing from the fiery passion of a new romance into the steady, comforting warmth of a long-burning fire. We had our disagreements, of course. No relationship is perfect. But we always talked things through. We always listened to each other. We were a team, and our team was strong. My father continued to call, his calls becoming a regular, pleasant part of trying to make your mother happy. But she's not happy. She's never been happy. And I've realized that I'm not responsible for her happiness. I'm responsible for my own. And I'm not happy either. I want to spend the years I have left in peace. I did not know what to say. I had never imagined my parents separating.
But as I thought about it, it made sense. My father had been an enabler, yes, but he had also been a victim of my mother's manipulative behavior. He had just been trying to survive. "Are you going to be okay, Dad?" I asked. "I think so," he said. "I'm going to sell the house. It's too big for me anyway. I'm thinking of getting a small apartment near the coast. I've always wanted to live by the sea." I smiled. "That sounds wonderful, Dad." "And Sarah," he said, his voice a little hesitant. "I'm sorry. For everything, for not protecting you, for not being a better father." Tears welled up in my eyes. It was the apology I had been waiting my whole life to hear. "It's okay, Dad," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I forgive you." And I meant it. I had let go of my anger towards him a long time ago. I understood that he had done the best he could with the tools he had, and now he was finally choosing to be happy. I was proud of him. The divorce was finalized a few months later. My father moved to a lovely little seaside town. He sent me pictures of his apartment. It had a balcony that overlooked the ocean. He took up fishing. He joined a book club. He was living his best life. My mother and Amelia stayed in the old house. I heard through my father that my mother had become even more bitter and demanding after the divorce. Amelia was her full-time caretaker, a role she clearly resented. Their toxic codependency had only deepened. They were trapped in a prison of their own making. I felt a fleeting sense of pity for them, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of gratitude for my own escape. Life went on. Ben and I decided we wanted to start a family. It took us a while, but after a year of trying, I finally got pregnant. We were overjoyed. The 9 months of my pregnancy were some of the happiest of my life. Ben was the perfect partner. He catered to my every craving.
He was from a law firm. It informed me that my mother had passed away. She had had another heart attack, a massive one this time. She had died instantly. The letter also stated that she had left a will. She had left the entire estate, including the house, to Amelia. She had left me $1. It was her final, parting shot. Her last attempt to hurt me, to remind me that I was the unloved daughter. I read the letter and I laughed. It was a hollow, joyless sound. The old Sarah would have been devastated. She would have cried for days. She would have seen it as the ultimate rejection. But I was not the old Sarah. I showed the letter to Ben. He read it, and his face grew dark with anger. "That's unbelievable," he said. "Even in death, she's cruel." "It's okay," I said, and I was surprised to find that it really was. "It doesn't matter. I don't need her money. I don't need her approval. I have everything I need right here." I looked around my beautiful home, at my loving husband, at my precious daughter playing on the floor. I had a life filled with love and warmth and genuine happiness. What was $1 compared to that? It was nothing. It was an empty gesture from a sad, bitter woman who had never known what it was to truly love. I did not go to the funeral. My father went, out of a sense of duty. He called me afterwards. He said it was a small, sad affair. Amelia had been a wreck, but not in a way that suggested grief. It was more like a panicked desperation. Her lifelong safety net, her enabler, her source of identity, was gone. She was truly alone now. A few months later, my father called again. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "Amelia sold the house." "That was fast," I said. "That's not the half of it," he said. "She sold it for much less than it was worth. And she spent all the money in less than 3 months, on designer clothes, expensive vacations, a new car. She tried to buy happiness, I suppose." "And now the money's all gone?" I asked. "All gone," he confirmed. "And the house is gone. She has nowhere to live." She called me, asking if she could move in with me. "What did you say?" But then I remember that her life is not my responsibility. Her choices are not my burden to bear. I let go of her, and in doing so, I saved myself. My life continued on its happy course. Lily grew into a smart, funny, and kind little girl. Ben and I were as in love as ever.
My father was a wonderful grandfather to Lily. He would visit often, his face lit up with joy as he played with her. One day, Lily and I were looking through an old photo album. She pointed to a picture of me in that awful yellow dress from Amelia's wedding. "Mommy, you look sad in this picture," she said with the simple, honest wisdom of a child. I looked at the picture, at the young woman with the forced smile and the sad eyes. She seemed like a stranger to me now. "I was a little sad that day, sweetie," I said, pulling her into my lap. "But it's okay, because right after this picture was taken, something amazing happened. I met your daddy, and he made all the sadness go away." Lily smiled and snuggled closer to me. "I'm glad you met Daddy," she said. "Me too," I said, kissing the top of her head. "Me too." I closed the photo album and put it away. The past was the past. It had shaped me. It had taught me valuable lessons, but it did not define me. My present was what mattered. My future was what I looked forward to. And it was a future filled with love, laughter, and the beautiful, simple joy of a life well lived. A life I had fought for. A life I deserved. And it was more perfect than any wedding Amelia could have ever dreamed of. The wine stain was long gone, but the strength I found that day would last a lifetime. I had truly, finally, found my happily ever after.